Dude, you need more hip.
Ugh.
It's not even that close. I mean,
Oh, why am I doing it on this show? I don't know. Whatever. We'll do it again next one. No, this is the Tyson one. I'm all fucked up.
yeah. Well, first of all, I think he does it better than you.
Well, that was for the listeners. I did the Trump dance because our new president's dance is taking the nation by storm, and people are loving it.
I'm not gonna lie, he does it much better than you with your janky ass hip. And
that is the funny thing. We don't even have to talk about it later. But white guys, and I'm going to bring race into it. We're bringing race into the podcast today. White guys, I think, are doing it better than black guys, and the reason being, black guys don't jump down my throat yet because I think they have a lot more rhythm, maybe too much rhythm for how simple the dance is. It's short, quick, choppy type of dance, and I think they're trying to watch. They're trying to watch the Nick Bosa, wrench those hips around. And Bosa's a flexible guy, but when he does the dance, he brings Trump into him, and he's really boxy doing it. But let's get going with the show here. All right. Welcome back for another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
You sounded loud as hell. Right. Also brought to us by Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way. They got a pizza buffet, and they're also doing frozen pizzas, and we love their pizza in Wisconsin. Correct. So we're starting off this show. Everybody,
I'm gonna do the Bill Ferrario move here and interrupt.
I was gonna say you cut me off again.
How's it feel?
Well, it hurts my heart. It's all over social media. People are laughing like, "Why is Joe cutting Bill off?"
Well, because I have something to say.
And I ended it with, "I always have good stuff to say."
Not really.
Well, I'm just saying.
I just think we need to give a shout out to your son. They made it. So DC Everest lost to Bayport here and on Friday, but had an amazing performance, close game. But your son being a freshman, starting as a left guard, is phenomenal. Like watching him play and watching him grow throughout the season. I mean, just a tremendous season for a 14-year-old. And I can tell you, Bill, when I was 14, there's no freaking way I would be able to play at that level that he's playing at because I just didn't have it.
No, I agree. And I was struggling on the freshman team, let alone varsity, at 14 years old. And yeah, it was a hell of a season. As I said last week, I think phenomenal coaches on this team, great kids on this team, and also great parents, which ultimately, who are raising the kids, who are taking them to and from practices their whole life. But yeah, it was just a pleasure to be a part of it. Like I stressed to my son and I stressed to some of the other kids I talked to that, yes, everybody in town is saying it's been 20 years. It could easily be another 20 or 30 years before something like this happens again. So, I just hope they took every memorable moment, enjoyed it, experienced it, and just remember it forever. Because like me and you both know, you're in that moment. It's one of those, it's not till you're done that you really get an opportunity to look back and smile and enjoy what you did. Like, especially for us, like when we were doing it, compliments to Coach Alvarez and our coaches that we didn't have time or allowance to enjoy what we did.
Well, Chris, there's a lot of people that are proud of you, man. And like I said, us old guys get to live our life vicariously through you and watching you just dominate at the age that you are at age 14 and the maturity that you showed to start at that level. And kudos to you. And you're going to have an amazing career. And the sky's the limit for you. It depends on how hard you want to work and how bad you want it. But your potential is off the charts, brother.
Oh, I appreciate it. I know he appreciates it too. And like I said, it's fun watching. And boy, we never dumped guys the way he's been dumping guys. So it's exciting.
Unbelievable.
Well, the other exciting thing that happened right after the Everest Bayport game was the Tyson Jake Paul fight on Netflix, which first off was a shit show with Netflix, how they did not prepare for this. And somebody told me that there was, I think it was like a chick flick that went live, I don't know how many years ago, or like a reunion or something like that of like think of like a Desperate Housewives only on Netflix, something along those lines. And when it went live, Netflix crashed. Really? So it's like, this is happening. Right. What are the IT guys doing? Giving pizza during the fight? Like, how did you not prepare for this? How did you not test it? This, that, the other, whatever. So that was a shit show. But then the fight, I've been asked by damn near everybody,
Huh?
It was 1,000%. It was a theatrical performance. It was not a fight.
It was. I saw in the first, because in between the breaks of Netflix that I was so frustrated with, that first round, Mike landed a couple punches, man, and I was like, "Who?" And you could see that Jake was a little bit freaking shaken up by that.
Yeah, Mike forgot what he was doing.
Yep.
Mike went back old school.
Yeah, and just shook him a little bit, and then all of a sudden there was an infamous tie-up, and the speculation is that there was a conversation between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson to cool it.
Yep.
And then
from then on,
we just stood there.
Went from Mike Tyson,
yep,
holy shit, he could fight, to Mike Tyson, he looks like he needs to be in the old folks home.
Correct.
So here's my deal. I understand what both of them did. Right. They both made a shitload of money. Mm-hmm. But I started thinking about this today. How funny would it be? So Dana White hates Jake Paul. And Dana said, now I understand why Mike took this fight. And Dana Moore was giving Mike praise, saying, Mike told me he wasn't going to get hurt and he was going to handle Jake Paul. And Dana White was praising him, saying, like, that's exactly what happened. Mike handled it, blah, blah, blah. I almost wish a Dana White would be like, you know what? Rematch. 90 days from now, we're going to have it on pay-per-view, charge through the freaking roof, $160 per television, and be like, Mike, knock his head off. Right. Because what I think this fight now, see, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Now I'm fired up about this. Par for the fucking but this is going to be very good information, so people need to hear
I'm sure.
So what Jake Paul's looking at with Mike Tyson, the only way you could examine those fights were by putting a VHS tape in a VCR. Kids, Google it. But today, you have all these angles. Everyone's slow-moing it down to the 100th of a second. Right. You could advance and move forward. Mike pulled punches. Mm-hmm. Jake got hurt when Mike threw punches. I mean, here's my deal. Let's do a pay-per-view, $160 for the fight, 1 round, 3 minutes.
Right.
I think Jake Paul's done in 45 seconds. How about did you see the size of the ring? Here's my deal is, after all this, kudos to Jake Paul for becoming filthy rich. Right. You are smart. You're a genius. Young kids that you can't follow exactly what he did, but his ambition, his thinking outside the box, definitely look at that. But when it comes to fighting, I'm going to flat out say it. He's a pussy. That bigger ring, trying to make an older guy chase you more, like stand toe-to-toe in the middle. But everything about it was an act. It was staged. Hindsight, while it was going on, I sort of didn't wrap my head around it. After I've watched it more than once, I've watched the replays. It was like I would have been furious if I had to pay for it.
I agree. The hard part that I had is watching the highlights of Mike Tyson in training and watching his quickness and watching him be able to bend and move and sidestep and the ferocity that he was training with and the speed that he had at 58 is nothing that we saw in the ring.
Yes.
Zero.
And here's the thing, too, is that if he did just 45 seconds in that match that he did in training, Jake Paul would have been knocked out in 45 seconds. 45. There was a point where Jake Paul threw, I believe it was a hook, and Tyson ducked in his signature uppercut. His shoulder went, and he pulled the punch.
Yep.
And it's like, if he hit him there, it would have been a TKO.
Very true.
Like everybody knows it, but now, granted, they both got paid. Got paid a lot of money, but it was fake as fake could be. I mean, and here's the thing: it's not even like it's a gray area where somebody could be like, "No, you're wrong." No, prove to me one thing we're saying that's incorrect.
Right.
Prove to me Mike didn't pull punches. Right. Prove to me Mike couldn't knock his head off. Mm-hmm. Prove to me he didn't hurt Jake Paul early in the first round. And then stop throwing. I think in the first round, Tyson landed, I think it was 12 punches. Mm-hmm. And I think they said the whole fight he landed. Now, remember the first round, there's the alleged talk to. Yep. 12 punches I think he landed in the first round. I think he landed 19 in the whole fight.
Yes.
So you're telling me he only landed 7 more punches in the next, 7 rounds?
Yep.
Hey, Joe, it's November. What's the drink of the month at Cabin Coffee Altoona?
This month it's the Gingerbread Cabin Mocha.
Ooh, is that made with real gingers?
We tried. They kept on trying to steal the recipe.
What's it really made with then?
Gingerbread syrup, dark chocolate, and 2 shots of espresso, steamed milk of your choice, Whipped cream.
Sounds good. I'll give it a try next time at Cabot Coffee Altoona.
Watch out for those gingers. It was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Literally because of Netflix, it was hard to watch. And then again, it goes back to like I talk to people from our generation. Like it felt like a generational fight.
Yeah,
like it was our
absolutely,
generation versus
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
young
the
kids,
YouTubers, the
the YouTubers.
yeah.
Yeah, like so that's what it was.
Yeah.
And but again,
And it's setting that generation straight. Like they always like, my son had a buddy that went on vacation with us a couple years ago, and he's like talking about LeBron James.
oh,
And I go, listen, first off, LeBron James, like let's be serious. Like the best of the best basketball players come out and say it'd be an argument whether he makes the top 5, like the 5 Mount Rushmore basketball players. Now, does he have the numbers? Yeah, but me and you would have the numbers if we played. Yeah. If me and you played 35 years in the NBA, we'd also have numbers.
I agree.
I mean, anybody will have numbers with that many years. But I brought up Jason Williams to this kid. He's like, who's that?
Are you kidding me?
I go, Google him when you go back to your room. Comes back out later when we go to dinner or whatever, his jaw's like dropped. And I'm like, you just don't understand.
Right.
Or like, Google Michael Jordan fouls. Like, who's the, I can't think of the guy's name. He's on a podcast or a sports show. He said the Michael Jordan rule was as soon as he comes in the paint, you foul him. If he leaves his feet, you take him to the ground.
Right.
Like
that was against the Pistons.
Yeah, that was the Pistons. Yeah, and it wasn't. I'm trying to think. It wasn't Lambeer. It was
Isaiah Thomas.
No, it was another. It was the guy that was in Bad Boys. Remember the guy with the glasses?
Oh, John Sally.
John Sally. That's the one who said it.
Okay.
Sally said, because there was a young John Sally playing for the Pistons at the time. And Sally said, we had Michael Jordan rules. If he came in the paint, you foul him. You put him on the ground. I mean, and then everybody from that era, ask anybody, when a newscaster asks them, what would Jordan score today? They're like, he'd average 50. Like, it's just they're like, easily 50. Like, do you want me to be legit about it? Maybe 52.
Right.
Maybe, but they're saying average.
Correct.
I don't even know what LeBron averages. Like, is he 30, 29, 28, whatever? But come on, you just can't compare the two. So that's the fight. It was fixed. Boy, I think Mike Tyson could make probably $200 million if he fought a real fight against Jake Paul. Literally 90 days later.
Yeah, just think of like not only that. Had he knocked him out, can you imagine the endorsements he would have had?
That's what I think, and I'm sure he weighed that option, but it's $20 million guaranteed versus, if you do that, now you got to go out and do the commercials. You got to do this and that. And who knows, maybe Mike's thinking what we're talking, like, go out there and make an announcement. I want to fight him for real. Everybody knows what that fight was about. Let's have another fight, Jake. No rules.
Yeah, but those two are friends apparently, so that's probably why it's not going to happen.
Just saying, you can knock your friend out. I don't know.
I mean, I'd knock your ass out.
Well, you try. So next up, we got football's top 25, and we highlighted Big Ten teams, and holy shit, there's a lot of highlights in the top 5 selections. So we're recording this on Tuesday, the 19th. The show is possibly coming out tonight, but the college football playoff rankings also come out tonight, probably prior to this show being released. But right now in the top 5, you got Oregon at 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 4, Indiana 5. Texas is in the middle at number 3. So those are the 4 Big Ten teams, and we also have Illinois in the top 25 at spot 24. But I don't know, the Big Ten's representing. Like people are talking about Indiana. But here's my deal. You can't bitch about Indiana when you got SMU in the top 25. You got BYU in the top 25.
You have Tulane.
Tulane in the top. We have Army. We both respect Army a lot.
Absolutely.
But you have Army in the top 20. How are you going to complain about Indiana being undefeated? Beat them.
Yeah.
If you can't beat them, I mean, this is what we complain about with everybody else when there's always shitty teams ranked above a team that we think is better. Well, beat them. And here's the nice thing about it is basically looking at this is the national championship is going to be decided in early December in the Big Ten championship. Whoever wins the Big Ten, I feel, is winning the national championship.
Yeah,
that's my pick right now.
Well, as I'm going through here right now, I don't see anybody that's going to be able to beat any of the Big Ten teams. I mean, honestly,
especially not the top. Like, I mean, I don't think Texas is by no means beating Oregon, Ohio State, or Penn State.
Right.
Indiana's the one. It's just like you're not sure yet, but still, they haven't lost. They keep finding ways to win. Mm-hmm. It is what it is.
Yeah, but then you have to think about too. Usually, the Alabamas and Georgia always rise to the occasion in the playoffs.
They do, but here's my thing: is I put more confidence in a Georgia. I think Alabama has seriously dropped since Saban's left. They're a good program. but they definitely dropped a caliber or two with Saban not being there.
I agree. So you'll never hear us root for other Big Ten teams until it's playoff time.
Correct.
And that's the only time.
Yeah,
so that's the only time that we will ever root for another Big Ten team besides the Badgers. But when it comes down to the playoffs, we go
100% because we're rooting for the conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Enough of that bullshit with the SEC. We talked about that in the past. They had a couple good teams up top and then a bunch of bullshitters below. So the other crazy thing we found last night was, and all this stuff, I think in the next couple, maybe 2 weeks, we're dropping an episode about NIL. We've talked about the transfer portal. We saw that the NCAA is making roster limit adjustments for the 2025 season.
Yep.
So they're right now currently on a team, you're allowed to have 85 scholarship players and I believe a total of 128 players on the team. So the difference between 85 and the number 128 are walk-ons. You have preferred walk-ons that come early to training camp or summer camp, and then you have traditional walk-on that shows up the first day of school, totaling max of 128. What the NCAA is recommending is going from 85 scholarships to giving every school 20 more scholarships to put the scholarship number at 105, which is insane. There's no real answer on why they're doing it. The only thing I could assume is to get more guys out of that portal, or maybe to help high school kids because people are avoiding giving scholarships to high school kids because they're taking guys from the portal because there's already experience. It's almost like in the next 5 to 10 years, our prep school is going to become more popular because a kid doesn't get a scholarship out of high school, goes to a prep school to show that improvement, to show that I understand systems and this and that, and then hopefully earn that scholarship, or even JUCOs.
Sure.
I could see JUCOs being on the rise in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. And I think we talked about this. Is this the death of the walk-on, Bill?
It is, because you're losing 20 walk-ons are not going to get spots because those spots are going to go to scholarship kids. Now, there's part of the argument, would some of those walk-ons be getting scholarships and they only walked on because the school ran out of scholarships? But me and you both know Wisconsin has a rich tradition of walk-ons having tremendous success in Wisconsin, building walk-ons into phenomenal players.
Correct. And some of those include...
Well, we got Jimmy Leonard.
Yep.
We got J.J. Watt, Jared Abadaris. We got a friend of both of ours that we played with that you played against in high school, Jason Doring.
Who the hardest I was ever hit in my life was by Jason Doring in practice. Yeah.
Joe Panos, Ben Strickland, Donnell Thompson, another crazy hard hitter.
Yep.
Joe Stelmacher, Macatula, Chris Marigo. I've been pronouncing his name wrong for about 15 years.
Words are
Chris
hard.
Marigo, he was linebacker, safety.
Words are hard. I get it.
I know. Well, you got to try and piece them all together. Chad Cascaden, Luke Swan, Ryan Ramchek, old lineman that we love, Joe Schobert, once again, sound it out, and Alex Erickson, just to name a few walk-ons that were phenomenal at Wisconsin, and I believe all of them played in the NFL, or good majority of them played in the NFL. But yeah, I think it's going to hurt walk-ons for sure, but it's going to change the way we look at college football again.
Absolutely. Now we have Cowboy Stadium where pieces are falling off the roof before the game.
Jerry Jones world, yeah. So the word is they haven't opened the roof since October of 2022. And I believe it was about 2 hours before kickoff they tried to open the roof for this last game. And yeah, huge, like basketball-sized dust clumps started falling from the roof. And then, a piece of metal fell from the roof. And they had to close the roof. And now they're looking like there was no injuries, nothing like that. But one of the ESPN reporters was out there, and the piece of metal fell behind her.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it kind of coincides. They hosted the Netflix fight. And and if you remember, even in the interview or interviewing Jerry Jones, his freaking mic went dead. Like,
yes, exact. Everything went wrong with that fight. Once again, sort of bringing it back, sticking in the NFL, but bringing it back to the Big Ten. The Chargers, turning into a good team, having a good year. They're coming back, staying in games, getting the W. But who we looking at with that for the win?
If you think about it, Harbaugh came in or left as the national championships at Michigan, and he came into the Chargers, and I am actually happy for him. I think he's doing a great job over there. He's really getting a buy-in for what he believes in. His players are buying into it, and the record shows it. So super excited for him.
Just 2 quotes to sort of back you up, Joe. We got Dayan Henley saying this team came with more purpose. Maybe it wasn't there last year for whatever reason, but right now we have a purpose. We have belief. And then Nick Bosa said, having Coach Harbaugh and having the whole staff, I think has shifted the culture here. So you can tell he's definitely changing the way. I mean, they're professionals. They're grown men, but he's just changing the way they look at it, changing the way they believe in themselves and believe that they're going to get a win. And me and you both know that all starts at the top of the head coach with that belief that you have, that trust that you have going in the games.
And we get a shout out to Ben Herbert, who played with us at Wisconsin, and now he's the strength conditioning coach.
Yeah, so if anybody sees a cue ball, bald guy on the sidelines with a shiny head.
With a scowl, because he
absolutely. And also jacked, too.
Yeah, just
probably looks like he could run in the game as linebacker or defensive end. But yeah, he was a nose tackle and outside linebacker for us. And because obviously you love Italians, Joe. I'm Italian. I wanted to mention our guy at the Giants, DeVito. He's back in a QB. So they benched Jones because of the injury clause. And I think Jones, where is it here? He's got $23 million injury guarantee. So if he gets injured where he can't pass a physical, they have to pay him $23 million, so they're benching him for the season.
And this is exactly where you say that NFL and NCAA is a business.
Absolutely.
Here you go. It's 1,000%.
You got your top draft pick that you say is your best player, and you put him on the bench, essentially being okay losing games because you don't want to pay $23 million in case something possibly happens.
Correct.
So it's a risk you take, but hey, we got a Goomba and playing on Sundays, so I'm happy about that.
And we get to see his agent and his dad in the stand.
Everybody in the stands. Maron, eh? And then Easter weekend, Easter weekend. So 52 years ago this season, the Miami Dolphins went undefeated. And what I love about the Dolphins, that team, they still try and get together. Now I think some of them are doing it over Zoom, but they're having a glass of champagne whenever the last undefeated team loses. And the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And Larry Zonka and his teammates, they had their champagne. So there's no more undefeated teams this season. They're going one more year. So they're at 52 consecutive years now. And
as a kid, I remember watching the NFL films of Larry Zonka running the ball with that U-shaped face mask. That fired me up as a kid. I watched it all the time just because he was such a hard runner.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Kudos to good for them for getting together.
Absolutely,
Still have that camaraderie of the only perfect season in the NFL history, and good for them.
You might as well be happy about it. I mean, it's one of those, obviously, as we've seen, it's next to impossible to happen in 52 years. Nobody can do it. There's been a lot of teams close. I mean, Patriots, I think it was last game of the season that they drank the champagne. I think they lost to Giants, last game of the season.
Indianapolis with Peyton Manning had an opportunity too, and rather than play Peyton, no chance of getting him hurt.
Yes,
they benched him. They benched him.
Did they bench him for Sorgi?
I maybe.
It might have been close.
I think it was.
It might have been Sorgi, our college teammate. Yeah,
absolutely.
Small world.
It is crazy.
Small world.
Yeah. So, but again, good for them.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned for our next episode. Not sure which one's dropping first or next, but stay tuned. We got a couple dropping this week, and we'll be back next week. I'm going to give you that Trump dance again because I'm excited, baby.
Yeah,
excited.
I think you need more hip.
Little hip action. Yeah, all right. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to Joe and I today. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you like what you heard, please give 217 South Mills a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go tell your friends about us. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'd like to thank Cabin Coffee Altoona for sponsoring us. Everything is always better at the cabin. See you next time. And remember, folks, Red has to run.